chips are awesome for me. I don't know why. I love the Imperial chips, but all right, well, let's do it. Let's hop into House of the Dragon. Okay, so this is part of the reason why it's been so hard for me to intake stuff this week is because I have actually started reading Fire and Blood, and it is a fantastic book. I'm listening to it, and it's man, I'm gonna tell you, like I was saying before, it's like reading Genesis. Like the first little bit or first like half of every chapter is like so and so begot so and so begot so and so. It gives you the timeline of who's who and this and that, and like it was very difficult to understand because the book starts out at like 2 AC, and AC is like after conquest. It's like after Aegon's first conquest. So it starts out with the conquest of Aegon, and then it gives you the years as it's going down, and the show starts out at like 103 AC or something like that, and the show ends at like 135 AC, something like that. I can't remember, 29, somewhere in that vicinity. So I'm almost to that point. Like right now, I'm at like 49 AC. It's right where Maegor, the terrible or whatever, that guy's a horrible guy.
Cruel,
the cruel. It's where he's died, and now his son Jaehaerys has taken over, and Jaehaerys is actually what's his name's father, the king in House of the Dragon, Viserys. Yeah, that's his father. So I'm getting to the point.
Actually, no. That's his grandfather.
That's his grandfather? Okay, so I'm almost there. I'm getting there.
Yeah. So Jaehaerys had 2 children. His oldest son had Rhaenys, who had the big moment in this past episode, right? Mm-hmm. And then the younger son had both Viserys and Daemon.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm getting to that point, and it's really cool because like even like what I've just finished was the part they call like the Faith Uprising. And listening to that part and listening to how like everything that Aegon the Conqueror did, like he showed respect for religion, but he really gave 0 Fs. Like they didn't like the Targaryen house doing this inbreeding and the marriages and stuff they do is not blessed by the religious people and it's looked down upon very, very badly, but they just don't care, you know? And for some reason, as long as he doesn't take force against them, they just continue to bless the things that he's doing, even though in secrecy they're really like plotting against him or waiting for their moment to step back into power. And that right there, reading this and seeing that makes the whole star on the chest of Alicent and everything they've changed mean so much more in this show. So like reading this book is making the show open up so much more for me. Like, oh, I see this. And it's so cool too in the book because there are those moments, like you said, Cody, where it's told from the point of view of maesters, and you see in the show how many liberties they can take because there are so many things they're like, it may never be known what actually happened, but this is what is thought to be happened, or it could have been this, or it could have been this, but we'll never know. And I'm like, oh, that's so awesome because they can do whatever they want to with that.
Yeah, you can fill in the gaps how you want. Yeah.
But I'm loving it, man. It's some of these chapters are like one chapter, I think chapter 13 or 14 is like 2 hours and 10 minutes long for a chapter. Like some of these chapters are long, and of course it's audiobook. I don't know how long that would be reading, but like the first chapter for me was like 38 minutes, and then my friend's actually reading it, and he said it was 26 pages. So I'm like, okay. So I'm trying to get in my mind like how far into the book that is as far as how, but I don't know why a couple of chapters are almost 2 hours. Most of them are between 45 minutes to an hour each chapter. So 26-hour read or listen.
Since you're reading the book, 2 things. If you notice how Maegor died, like he died on the Iron Throne.
They don't know though. The throne killed him, is what everybody says, but they don't know. Yeah,
they don't know. But there's like a large rumor that the Iron Throne spurned him.
Yeah,
and that's a big thing. The Iron Throne, and you've already kind of seen that in the show a little bit with Viserys. But the Iron Throne's not a comfortable chair, and it's not meant to be. But also, you mentioned the Faith of the Seven, and how they're totally not cool with the incest and the multiple wives. Like they're not into that shit at all. And the next chapter that you're about to get into with Jaehaerys, you're gonna see how the Targaryens choose to rectify that.
Okay.
And how they go about doing it. But yeah, it's I love that you're reading it, man, because it does open up so many different things that you didn't know about before. And also it just shows you that they're gonna do another book and they're probably going to be able to do future shows of House of the Dragon based on later Targaryen kings and stuff like that. So,
oh yeah,
man, I'm happy you're reading it.
Yeah, there's a whole lot. Well, it's cool too because like you look at the conqueror of this family, like from Aegon the Conqueror, like it's his main thing was peace. And then like when what's his name, the Cruel comes in, Maegor comes in, it's all about bloodthirst and war and destruction. And then what it looks like going into this, it looks like Jaehaerys, who comes into this I think at 14. I think it was when he becomes king. And he only does it because what's his name dies, on the throne. He gets to become king. It looks like he's trying to bring peace back to the realm, because in between this, there are uprisings and they're trying to break up what at least 6 of the 7 kingdoms that what's his name, Aegon conquered, and they had never even mentioned that Dorne or Dawn, whatever it is, that he never actually conquers this one.
And so I won't give away too much, but it's in the next book to come. They do a whole conquest into Dorne, and it's basically like the Westerosi version of Vietnam. It's like fucked from the start, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, that Dorne is fascinating. The whole thing is incredible. And Jaehaerys, he starts at 14, and then that's him in the show as the old man that you see in episode 1. So he was the most longest tenured, peaceful, transformative Targaryen king to ever live.
Like everyone's died at 65 or something like that.
Yeah, everyone's compared against Jaehaerys.
Okay.
But, yeah, man.
And one more thing about the book, and then we'll get on the show. Sorry, I know I'm boring everybody with the book, but it's just amazing this read. Is they bring up to what is the there's the castle that is sent to that has the curse that everybody there's the story of that and how the curse starts, and then you see this throughout the story of people talking about, oh well, this place must be cursed. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome to hear that.
Yeah,
that's a whole chapter in the book.
A long way.
It's pretty cool. And I was like, just knowing that, like now. And I think, like I said, I even messaged you whenever I first started reading. I was like, dude, I got to get a timeline for this. And I did. I got a visual timeline. And it helps out a ton having a family tree, because there's a lot of, they have like 6 names they use in the family for everybody. Like 3 female and 3 male names. And that's what they use for everybody. And it's like, oh, it's so difficult to understand.
Billy Bob, Joe Bob, all these others.
Yeah. But,
well, like, you know how like in real history there was like Edward the First, they did reuse a lot of names, so George kind of did the same thing with that. I will be excited for when you finally do start the actual Game of Thrones books, because I think especially now that you're loving Fire and Blood, dude, you're gonna fall head over heels in love once you finally start reading the main books.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to do that in line with the show too, because I'm going to watch the show while I'm reading the books. So the books is straight up what the show's about, right? Except for the part they didn't have written.
Yeah. So up until season
6, I think.
4, but 6. Kind of 1 through 4 were awesome. 5 was still good, but that's when you started to see the cracks form. And there's 5 books out right now. Okay. So 1 book per season, pretty much.
Okay. I'm definitely interested.
I'm happy you find the books enjoyable. I mean, like Sarah had jumped on this bandwagon hardcore like however many weeks ago. It was just Sunday nights are now for the House of the Dragon. So like it's great because, like I said, I remember the first time around with Game of Thrones and like how much fun it was constantly just watching that show. So
yeah, man,
I'm glad we got more.
Oh yeah. Well, let's hop into it. I've been blabbering on about me reading the book and connections and being so excited about that. Let's talk about this week's episode. I know, Cody, you said
the king is dead. Boom.
Yes, there you go. Cody, you said classically episode 9 is the one where shit hits the fan, and I'd say shit hit the fan in this world. Like it's gone pretty crazy. Where are we at?
Yeah. So you find out a bunch of interesting things here. You learn that even outside of Alicent. So if Alicent had never heard Viserys say that on his deathbed, everyone around her was plotting to have Aegon made the king. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, how long would you guys plan? Like, it dawns on you, like, damn, this was going to happen if I did or didn't want it to. And you see the lines drawn. You know, and now you're even seeing the lines drawn between family members too, because you notice there was that whole race to find Aegon. Otto, he had the Eric and Eric, you know, the two Kingsguard twins, going to find him, but then Alicent goes to her boy toy, Kristen Cole, and her son Aemon, and is like, go find your dumbass brother and bring him here.
You're now buddy cops.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, I mean, you really see the lines forming. Man, so many big moments. I don't even know where to, you know.
Well, the thing with Alicent was it's one of those situations where she's got what she's wanted, but it's like she's not the way she wanted to get it, right?
Right.
So like ultimately this was her goal, but she didn't want it to be this way. She wanted it to be a natural, like naturally happen. And this is the episode where they bring all the lords to the house, right? And they're basically telling them, you will bend knee to you know Aemon, but
Aegon.
or Aegon, or you're not leaving. He's like, well, I have to confer with my house with this, and he's like, no, you're making the decision before you leave. So that was pretty crazy. Yeah,
I think that with Alicent, you're seeing she's kind of been untouchable with Viserys. You know, when you're the queen, you're kind of like untouchable, right? And so what I think that you're actually getting now is her realizing that she's not untouchable, and all these other men have been making these decisions to make sure that, you know, the woman doesn't get on the throne, because that's just not the natural way of things in this universe. And for a queen to rule, just no one wanted it. And so here's all the other guys on the council just like, no, we're going to make this happen. And what's really funny is that you see, I got the hint that Alicent felt that powerless moment to where she realized that all this was happening, like you said, without her knowledge. And so she kind of realized that, you know, like, now that Viserys is dead, who is she?
Right.
So it was very stunning for her.
That was her power piece, was him, to be really honest with you. And now she's lost all that power. And you know, they have this planned out so much that they have no problem just killing whoever they have to you know, that goes against them. Because even old boy who stood up and said that, though, I've served with, you know, Viserys for so many years, he would not have said this, or he never mentioned this to me. And I thought it was kind of weird, man. Dude just slams his face down onto that marble.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Bam. Just bam, slammed his face down. Was it Kristen Cole who did that? Just slammed his face down. And I was like, wow, okay.
And Mr. Orwell goes to pick up his body, and he's like, no one leaves until we're done here. It's like, let the dead body lie. You know,
it's very Pope-esque. Like, you're locked in a room. No one's going to leave.
Yeah, I mean, what did you guys think about the conversation between Rhaenys and Alicent, too? Because there comes that point where Rhaenys knows that she's locked in the tower. They're not letting her out because she just betrothed, you know, her granddaughters to Rhaenyra's sons. So they're obviously aligned with one another. And they just lock her in her room, you know, and then Alicent comes to talk to her, and she ends up telling Alicent, it's like, you know, you're not vying for power. You're vying for say-so of the windows of your prison cell. You know, it's like, in the end, you're setting yourself up to be in another scenario where you're going to continue to bow down to the men around you. You know, whether it be Otto, you know, Alaris, which is a whole nother thing that happens in this episode that's creepy as hell. And you know, there's nothing that Rhaenys said that was wrong. You know, she's always having to make amends and you know, concessions on behalf of the men in her life. You know what I'm saying? Whereas Rhaenyra actually represents bucking that trend.
Oh yeah.
There's two important quotes that I think were grabbed from this episode for me, and one of them was, there is no power but what people allow you to take. And that quote was basically the essential of, like, you have to be able to go for it, but at the same time, like, you know, I think that was the whole point of making sure that Aegon was going to be put on the throne and like no one questioned it. But the other one was reluctance to murder is not a weakness. And I thought that was very much, I believe that was Allison who said that. And it was very much like, you know, just because I'm not trying to murder people, you know, there's a reason for that. And that reason does not show weakness. That reason shows that, you know, like I'm here to make this decision. And so when she went to try to go talk to Rhaenys, it was very much her trying to get that public opinion without force. And it was very important that she did that because, you know, she's looking for legitimacy. And I think now she realizes that she's not going to get legitimacy without help, and not like by taking it by force so much as it is, you know, asking for it, like trying to get people to come to her cause.
Yeah.
Did you all find it creepy when Alicent's talking to her father and she says that to Otto? She's like, you know, having compassion is not weakness, you know, not wanting to be a murderer. And then the first thing that Otto does is says, "You remind me of your mother."
Mm-hmm.
And it, you know, remember he put his mother's dress on Alicent to go and send her to talk to Viserys. Like, it's very much doing the patriarchal type thing of that, you know, that male dominance, but also showing her, you know, how, you know, she was used as a woman to get where she is. And even though it's her father, it was still this weird kind of sexualization of her and kind of demeaning her role as a thinker and someone that's actually worried about the future of her house and her family.
Mm-hmm. Who was the guard that let Rhaenyra out of her prison? Was it just a throwaway character? Because he comes in and he's like, "I'm not going to stand for this injustice."
That was
and
one of his brothers, wasn't
that
it?
was the Cargill
Oh.
twin. So okay, you know how there's two twin brothers of the King's Guard, and the whole time they're looking for Aegon, they're arguing with one another. Like, dude, look at this guy. We're going to a child fighting ring. And this is
talk about that.
Yeah, dude, this is gonna be the dude that we call our king. And then the other one's like, dude, we swore an oath. This is what we're meant to do. And you see that war between the family members right there. But if you notice, once they finally find Aegon and Kristen Cole and Aemon show up, when one of the brothers is sword fighting with Kristen Cole, the other one is kind of watching, and he kind of ducks off into the background. And that's the guard that went up to free Rhaenys.
Okay, and I think it even mentions, he's like, "Where's your brother?" Like, once somebody ask him that, right?
Yeah,
while they're fighting. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense now. I didn't think about that before, but yeah, okay. Yeah, and then let's talk about, Ross, you want to talk about that child fighting ring. So they talked about they filed the nails and teeth of these kids to make them more formidable. Like, wow.
And they pit them together. Nuts. I mean, yeah, like not only did they like deform the shit out of them, but they pit them straight up against each other. I mean, like imagine your life as a kid. You are, you know, to live or to die. And not only that, but I mean, there's so many bastards of Aegon in there.
Yeah.
You know, he's just out there, you know, wanking over the city like he was in that one episode. And I mean, like he's just creating fighters. You're literally playing in your own universe.
Yeah.
You are making these things happen. And not only that, you live the best life and you're making the worst things happen. I mean, God, like I wish they would have, because I don't think they went into great detail, but I mean, like you said, like the filing of the teeth and the nails and everything. I mean, like show me just like 2 seconds of that. Put that fear into my head and like let me have nightmares about that, because holy shit.
That's one of those things I don't want to see, but I want to just see one time just to see it, like you said, so that way I have the fear of it in my head, but I would never want to actually see it. It's like, it's weird, you know? Okay, so is it Rhaenyra's dragon at the end?
Yeah,
holy crap. Rhaenys, beautiful dragon. Like I was like, wow, that's a really, really nice dragon. So she comes in at the coronation of Aegon, right?
Yeah, so at that time when she's escaping, all of the guards are moving them toward the dragon pit, which is where Aegon's about to be coronated, because they want this to be as legitimate as possible.
Yeah, they need as many people viewing it.
Yeah, they need many people viewing it. They need to know, hey, Aegon is your king. He wears the crown of Aegon the Conqueror. He wields the sword Blackfire. His name is Aegon. Like, they have all these superficial things that they're pushing on him to try and prove his legitimacy. And, earlier in the episode, you see he wants no part of it. He tells his brother, hey, I'm going. Dude, I'll hop a boat. I'll be across the sea. I'll be doing my shit. A lot like what Kristen Cole said to Rhaenyra when he wanted to elope with her. But, yeah, it didn't end up going too well.
No, but he actually, it's weird to see his transition from the beginning of that episode to what he ends up being at the end, because he really, really embraces it at the end. Like he realizes this is what, of course, when you got a crowd of people cheering for you, you've been given a crown and a sword at that point in time, adrenaline's got to be pumping, I imagine.
Yeah. Sarah, what were your thoughts on just this episode, or just what you want to talk about?
Well, I thought it was kind of cool.
Quiet.
I just love listening to you, Cody, because you just love this.
No, but I talk about it too much. I want to hear y'all.
No, but seriously, this was an interesting. Like I said, everybody was kind of pitted against each other, because not only do you have Kristen Cole in the chamber basically slam the guy's face down, you had what was that, like the captain of the King's Guard?
Yeah, the Lord Commander.
Right, because basically, Otto told him, he's like, you didn't go kill Rhaenyra. He's like, the hell I will.
Yeah.
I'm not about to do that. He's like, I'll snatch the cloak off right now and walk away.
Yeah.
So, you have that going on, like a clashing of ideologies, or, who, I guess, who's backing whom and that kind of thing. And then, of course, when you have them looking for Aegon, which I thought it was just really weird that Aegon is always gone. I'm like, how did... Yeah, because it's already been proven that he's not for shit, period. Just not for shit. That should have been something that had just, that egg should not have been fertilized. So they're looking for them. And then to see, everybody pitted against each other on that, fighting over that. And the kids, you guys, if y'all want to see some crazy looking kids wanting to, wild animals, no, you guys can have that. I'm good with that.
I thought you were going to say, come to my house.
That was going to be my next point. But, I don't know, the way my kids with the teeth coming, they're losing their baby teeth and the adult teeth are coming in, and they're like little pointy things too. So they look like wild animals.
Right.
But then also, with Rhaenys, and, when she realized she was locked in her room, she's like, oh, the hell, because she's always been in the middle anyways. Because she already had that discussion with Rhaenyra about, hey, this is the way it is. They're never going to accept you. It is what it is, because I got passed over, blah blah blah. And then to have almost kind of like the same conversation with Alicent, except Alicent was just she's on a different level than Rhaenyra's.
Yeah.
And like I said, it was almost like a similar conversation. Saying you can do what you want, but you're still a woman. It is what it is. I mean, men are still going to pull the strings. Come, no matter whatever may come. But when Rhaenys was actually, broke her out of her prison, so to speak, she wanted to go down to the dragon pit. I was just like, why? It didn't even dawn on me. I was like, oh hell, she's got a freaking dragon down there. I mean, why? Because when she was herded back into the dragon pit, she was just, you could see her light up. She's like, oh, I'm where I want to be. Of course, there's some bullshit going on here, but because then you saw she kind of
how did I get stuck at the car park?
Yeah,
my car's parked here.
She kind of snuck her way to the side, and next thing you know, she's like right down the door, and I was like, oh, something crazy is about to happen.
Yeah,
and of course, something crazy did happen. So to have her dragon just bust up through the floor, but she's always been she's an interesting character to me. Like I said, I don't know anything about the book version, but to me, I feel like she does wield some power, but it's not blatant. It's like she's like the voice of reason, because I know I've seen a lot of people, say, oh, well, she could have just taken them all out with her dragon, but you could tell she's like, look, I know shit's about to go down. You have created a situation where it's going to get ugly real quick, real fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so for her dragon, I would not want to be on the other side of a dragon's breath, whether it was fire or not, because I'm like, just like, oh my word. But just her up there, and her dragon did what it did, and the fact that she had somewhat of control over that dragon to where she's like, I could take y'all out right now, but I'm not. I just want y'all to be aware. And then she just leaves because they know for 100% she's going to Rhaenyra, Rhaenyra, 100%. So at that point in time, and even with Aegon, when he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm the king," I'm like, "No, dude, I don't know. This is just." You could see shit going off the rails right then and there, especially with how fast they were to. As soon as Viserys literally took his last breath, they're like, "Oh, we got to do this right now."
Mm-hmm.
So
shows the holes in their plan,
right?
Well, and even the scene with Aegon in the wagon, where he was like. Aegon is still a child.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a child. I mean, even though he's the older brother, Aemon's the only one that really took on the seriousness of his role. He took being a prince serious.
Mm-hmm.
And Aegon's just like, I'm just gonna do whatever. He's like, I'm like, dude, he's almost like a kid that's like, why was I even born? What purpose do I serve? So
he asked his mom, he's like, do you love me? And then she calls him an imbecile.
I know.
Like, well, gee, tell me you love me without telling me you love me, Mom.
Right.
But it was interesting when she gave him the dagger, though, and he was, I guess, then I guess he thought, oh, well, maybe he really did mean for me to be. I'm like, dude, that's just a symbol. I mean, that's not really. If he handed it to you, gave it to you, yes, I would say I would believe that. But just because somebody literally stole it off a corpse and just handed it to you, that don't mean shit.
Mm-hmm.
So the way they found Aegon in the book is way worse than how they found him in the show. Like,
sure.
to the point where it's like, oh yeah, of course they're not gonna put that in the show. Like, it's that bad, dude.
Okay. Was he in the closet with the noose around his neck? Like, what were we talking here? Carradine?
No, they find him with someone who's very underage.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I'm glad they don't go there in the show. Then let's put that.
Yeah.
I'm glad they have limits in this whole universe.
Right.
I mean, there's some crazy stuff in the books that, like, I imagine that if I saw in the show, I'd be weird. Like, we talked about Maegor the Cruel. Like, he actually murders one of his wives and like tortures her for, I think they said, like 4 days. And was there present for the entire time she was being tortured, and they tried to keep her alive as long as possible while they tortured her. Then after they killed her, they separated her body parts and they put a piece of her body on a spigot on each of the 7 gates of the kingdom. And I'm like, holy shit, until it rotted. And I'm like, wow, that is some terrible shit right there.
He really earned that name, Maegor the Cruel.
Yeah.
He earned it. And to that point, earlier when you see Daemon and Rhaenyra sneaking around all the secret passages, well, Maegor had those passages built and then invited all the builders to a feast and had them all fucking killed at the feast so that he would be the only one who knew about his secret passageways that he had built. He was a gnarly dude. But Aegon, this episode, he shows you his reluctance. He does not want to be the king. He wants no part of this. And you do start to see him change a little once he holds up the Blackfire sword and he has a crown on his head and everyone's like cheering at him. It's like, oh, whoa, this is actually kind of nice. And we have to talk about this. What did you guys make of Larys?
Oh, no,
and his here we go, man.
Yep.
And his foot fetish.
Foot fetish is what we'll call it. Yeah.
I have my take, but I want to hear y'all's first.
Did she know what was going on? She had her back turned, but I couldn't tell. I was like, does she know what's happening here?
Dude, yes, 100%.
Okay, that makes it even.
I don't think this was the first time.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
There's a picture that floats around that I've always found funny, and it was mainly because I'm not into feet, right? And so it's like there's a whole entire cake, and there's a piece out of that cake, and then it's like, you know, it's like the internet fetish world, and then there's like, you know, someone says like, you know, that's like foot fetish, and they just pick up the whole entire cake, and like, I'm gonna take the rest of this, y'all can have that, because I don't get it. I've never gotten it. Like I don't, and you're right.